Settings, is it broadcasters? There we go. Invite. And okay, you should be getting it. Alright, anyways. I guess welcome everybody. You're tuned into another not really a let's play, just me playing a game, talking mess with another good buddy of mine. This time I got my homie from the podcast realm, I guess you could say. He aight, I guess, sometimes.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, you know, he's okay, people.
Yeah. You call him code name Josh or whatever the fuck. Yeah.
Just call him Guy. Guy.
Guy. Yes.
Oh, man.
Well, I am here. I am here and accounted for.
Mm.
What do we have on the roster?
Well,
Good, buddy.
Well, I guess as of right now, I'm playing through a game that I failed to finish, but Red Dead 2.
You fail at a lot of things.
I know. I mean, you ever like played a game that's so large and vast? After a while, you kind of put it down because you're like, man, it's just a little overwhelming. So let me just take a break from it, and then you try to go back to it and forget what you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, or you just like get so far into a game that you just eventually just like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm just playing this game. You're at the point where like you're so deep in, it's like, well, should I just fucking finish it, or should I just say fucking give up because like I'm just not enjoying this. Sometimes I get that way.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, before anybody say, I'm probably not even going to play this entire game forever because this is like a game that's like 60 plus hours long. Unless you want to see this broken up into multiple, like 100 parts. I don't know if that's what that. We'll see though.
Wait, a 60-hour broadcast? Is that even hypothetically possible? We could try.
I don't think that will happen. I think eventually we'll. I don't know. Is it possible to stream something that long?
Well, if you enjoy like hearing me fall asleep and then we'll wake up and then there'll be like dead silence on the broadcast. Everybody just wake up. Oh yeah, there they go. They're finally back awake. Okay, let's do this. Like the fuck?
Yeah, I think the longest stream I seen was a speed run, and it's it was a speed run for Final Fantasy 7 and 8. And it took them like 8 hours to do, which granted, it's a 40-hour game, so beating it at 8, it's technically a speed run, but other than that, yeah, that's the longest I've ever seen like a stream go for. I'm sure it's longer, but I don't think people's attention spans are that great to just sit there that long, but hey, it is what it is.
I've seen a 20-hour game stream. And when I say seen, I mean I looked and then I just like, okay, yeah, that's a little too long for me.
Miss Jones, bring in whatever blankets we
I
have.
skipped a few parts and then I just like, okay.
Yeah, you gotta get to the good parts. Like, where's the action and the gameplay? Oh man, but what you got into today?
What are we gonna do? We need supplies.
I ate food.
Oh, hey, hopefully, yeah. I mean, humans do require nourishment. Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yes. So, like, we do need to like do something about like our choice in like food that we eat. So, that's kind of a iffy thing to like think about. I mean, we did just got through talking about corn syrup, and
it's the best. Yeah, it's great for you.
Yes, so the health experts say that's very much what's the case.
That's the word on the street.
Yeah, Mexicans and the Americans are actually are seeing what people call the happy weight. I don't know if you've ever like heard of this concept.
I have.
Of, like, if my girl ain't got a happy weight, I don't want to be with her. And I look at the post sometimes. I'm like, is that happy weight? Is it really?
Like, I don't know, man. It's actually funny because who was I listening to?
And by the way, I'm not fat shaming anybody when I say that because I'm fat, but I'm like,
not at all. But we got to admit that America has a problem, and a lot of times it's who creates the food. But like, so I was listening to some clips from Joe Rogan's podcast. It was actually Hassan Piker who was talking about a little clip from Joe Rogan's podcast with everybody's favorite smart guy. And I use that with huge quotations around it. Benjamin? Is his full name Benjamin? I don't know. Or Ben, a.k.a. Benny Shapiro. Yeah.
Ben, yeah.
And they were talking. He tried to use an analogy. And, for instance, this is like, someone said, like, how bad does Benny have to be if Joe Rogan, who is kind of a novice when it comes to political talk, can basically strong arm, like, not really strong arm you, but like check you. And so, Ben was talking about something like, oh yeah, people in bad situations, like in the hood and things like, they just gotta want to do better. He was like, it's like if you want to just lose weight, you just gotta choose to do it. And even Joe had to say yes and no, man. Like, you can choose certain things, but he was like, there's a reason why it's hard. He was like, we're not gonna sit here and pretend like people don't want to lose weight, but when you look at what's required and the cost of good food, nutritious food, and just the availability of these things versus like certain areas where they don't really have grocery stores near, you really start looking at it, it's like, is it as easy as it sounds? Because sometimes it isn't.
I don't even know, like, if I would even like go like describe it even such as that, because like as Joe Rogan was going on during the episode, he was bringing up examples of like systemic racism, and then would pivot to then talk about, well, you just have to like put the gun down and like like not go around shooting people so much, and also you're right, but put the gun down. It's like, dude, like, so like every time when Ben would like try to like come up with his rebuttal, he would always say, well, yeah, you're right, Joe, but it's like, wait, is he right? Yeah. It's like, is he? Like, and like, you make a completely contrasting point to his.
Oh man, it was just funny because listening to him, the problem is the problem I get with guys like Ben Shapiro, and unfortunately, that thought process is vast, where people think, well, if you want to change things, just change it, and it's like, yo, man, let's keep it real. I say, crime is already heavy in these areas, and most of us are all products of our environment, or we replicate our environment. And so if you got someone who grew up in this since like 5, even younger, like, to think that all of a sudden, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna put the gun down, that's it, okay, now what? Now what?
Man, that's gonna solve all the issues, man. Black Lives Matter should take all the money that they've donated and like distribute it out, and then we've solved income inequality.
Oh my God! Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Bill Gates should go ahead and donate all of his. Well, he wants fucking UBI and everything. Give all his money away, and then let's see how he likes it. Like, yeah, okay, brother. Yeah, one little guy is gonna like fix all the issues. That's systemic.
Yes.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah. And it's so bad that even Joe had to explain to Ben. It was like, oh, let's just keep it real. And I think we've had this conversation before. When you talk about systemic things, you're talking about stuff that, I said, even if you just look at civil rights, it was 50 years, like a little, about 60 years ago, roughly, a little under. I said, you're telling me that we're going to solve all the, like, things that persisted for 200, we're going to solve in 50. And so it's just it's asinine to believe that all of a sudden, just because we created laws, that the ideals die. I was like, we defeated the Confederacy how long ago, and people still rock with them.
Still fighting over fucking statues and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking Tom Cotton out here talking about like how we shouldn't actually bring about the 1619 Project, which like talks about how integral the slaves were to the creation of America, even threatening taking tuition funds or I'm talking about school funding, away from schools that decide to make it a part of their core curriculum.
Interesting.
It's really, and like the article that I'm thinking about on the Ruth was that the guy kept saying like, you can't call somebody racist necessarily because for legal reasons. But you can say, well, what they're doing is racist.
Yeah. It's kind of like when, again, everyone's favorite son, Benny, when he mentioned one time, like, well, redlining has been illegal since the 1970s. It's like, oh, that's right. There's a law. That means it doesn't happen anymore, correct?
Yes, that is exactly right. See, that is against the law. It doesn't happen. That's like saying speeding doesn't happen.
Yes.
People do it any fucking way.
Yes. Since it's by law, you have to wear seatbelts. Everyone does it. That's great.
Man,
the power of the pen,
talk
man.
About the amount of times. Yeah, talk about the amount of times I've caught one of my coworkers just like out there. No seatbelt. That's illegal. Yeah, I know, but it's faster. So, okay.
Yeah, and so it's just that's the funny part about all this stuff. It's like people are trying so hard to just play mental gymnastics to not really discuss the stuff that's going on, and so yeah, that's fun. It's all fun. Oh man, I'm surprised they didn't get to the. I gotta go listen to the whole podcast. I know that, and that was another thing he had to check him on because he was talking about Colin Kaepernick, and apparently he was questioning why he decided to do what he did, but he had to basically play some audio for Ben to say this is what he said and this was his reasonings. It's still weird on how people try to tell you your reasonings, even though you told them. But then they try to say, well, this is what you really meant. It's like, no, I told you what I meant. I told you where I was going with it. Just because you assert something else in replace of that doesn't mean that's true.
Yeah, I mean, at best, maybe you can say, like, somebody is lying, or I don't agree with your reasonings, or whatever. Or, hey, man, that actually contradicts something that you said earlier. That's fair. But, like, if somebody tells you just, like, straight up, like, hey, bro, this is my reasonings, this is my reasons, and, like, you say, or did you mean this? It's like, no. I said the exact opposite. But I know, like, I think you're talking about the part where he decided to, and I'm talking about Kaepernick, decided to get some advice from a vet on what's the most respectful way to both honor the vets, but also to participate in this protest. And the story or the claim, and this is the part where I think is a bullshit lie. Supposedly, this is the very first time that Ben Shapiro has ever seen this fucking video or heard anything about this, and I'm like, bull fucking shit.
I call BS, man, because it was multiple times that this report was out, but it's like people chose, regardless of what happened during all of that, they chose to insert how they felt about it and make that as the truth. And that was the frustrating part of it all.
Yeah, and like, even if, let's say, like, for example, some people are like listening to me say that, like, oh yeah, that's a lie. Well, that's just your opinion, man. You're just a left-leaner, man. You're just being a hack or whatever. It's like, dude, okay, first of all, like, this guy goes around and parades himself as like the big smart commentator journalist guy. How does he not know this? Then that would mean that, like, he literally has been spreading misinformation this entire fucking time. So is he gonna post a retraction? Is he gonna say, oh yeah, my bad, bro, I totally misunderstand your point? Fuck no, he's not gonna do that shit. Get the fuck out of here. He's just gonna like keep it moving. He's gonna like slightly shift the conversation or whatever. He's gonna adjust his reasons. Well, I don't like Kaepernick because insert reason or whatever. I disagree with it.
Yeah,
come on.
And so that's the fun part But yeah, to answer your question, no, I doubt he's gonna post a retraction or anything like that, because a lot of people who are similar will double down and say, well, it was his fault that he didn't get his point across to them, even though they did, but you chose, you know, not to acknowledge what was being said.
So I seriously highly doubt that he didn't fucking know. Yeah, he definitely knew.
Yeah,
it's just that
definitely.
It's similar to like a lot of people, like Joe Biden, for example, where like Bernie was actually asked about the sex allegations before even Biden was fucking asked.
Oh,
it's like
man.
A lot of people just like go and just ask these. Some people just don't ask the questions at all. These so-called journalists, and in other instances they do, but they'll ask them like months or years later, or they'll ask people in their circle, like, "Hey, Bernie, how do you feel about the sex allegations? Do you agree with it?" Like, I don't know. And then I'm not involved in that. Like, I believe she has a right to an investigation, but that's not my smoke. That's his.
Yeah, exactly. It was just even funny because they're already starting to play this game about. They're still playing this game about how they asked, not Joe Biden, they asked Bernie again, you know, about his constituents, and do he feel that, you know, he's doing I'm paraphrasing now, but, you know, does he feel he's doing enough to get his constituents to buy into Biden? And he just basically said, you know, it's up to Biden to do that. He's like, now, I think he's doing, which I disagree with this, but he's like, yeah, I think his crew is doing a decent job with trying to get the Bernie Bernie's constituents on their side, but it's like, why is it Bernie's problem again? This is weird. Like, they only do that with him, but you don't get that with any other candidate where they were like, oh, I don't remember them asking Hillary, did she do enough to get Barack elected?
I don't know. Did they ask that question? That would be kind of a ridiculous question to even like ask. It's like, dude, it's not my job to get people over. Like, we are two completely different candidates or whatever. Like, we can't. You have to like give them a reason to like vote for you. I'm already endorsing you, but that doesn't mean like everybody else is.
Yeah.
You can do something a little bit better for them. Maybe you should ask the question of Joe, like, what is Joe actually gonna do for my voters? And sorry, like, if they don't like it, they don't fucking like it. Like, I guess we're not as much of a cult as you think.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're asking me this question, you dumb bitch, is actually what's wrong with journalists right now. Like, you're asking me, you should be asking him. Or maybe you agree with his politics a lot more than you like to admit. You don't want to ask him because that's going to be a question to his left.
Mm-hmm.
So you would much rather ask somebody else who's to your left.
And that's the funny part. So it's like that is weird that they do try to treat Bernie Sanders as like some kind of cult leader. Like, oh, well, you got to get your people in line. And it's like, that's not his people. Apparently, I'm sorry, there's quite a few of us who would rather actual policy to run our politics. But I don't know. I'm sorry that we're just not in this whole popularity, you know, if someone looks presidential and all that other stuff, because that stuff really doesn't matter. But I don't know. It was weird.
Should I kill him? No. Not yet. Find out what they're doing here and where Colm is.
See what else is going
on. You know what? I'm actually surprised that, you know, defund the police, which that was another thing I guess they asked Bernie. Did I fully agree with what he said? I don't know, because I think this whole thing of defund the police is actually getting way misconstrued. You would think that's kind of in its name, and maybe reduce funding for. I mean, that doesn't roll off the tongue, so apparently that doesn't work well.
Yeah.
But the fact that people were trying to say that, oh, that just means you're trying to get rid of police and this and that, and I was like, you know what? That's not what any of this means.
That was kind of annoying about that particular interview because it's like he's trying to like pitter patter around it, and I'm like, dude, like you know what, or at least you should know what this actually means. So it's not really that hard. I mean, depending on who you talk to, defund police or the abolish police are, and sometimes one and the same. Now, some people may actually think we're abolish the police, and literally abolish the police. One person who I talked to a few days ago was saying, I agree more with the defund the police than the abolish police, and I was like, you don't really follow people that much because a lot of times they kind of mean the same thing. I mean, when you say defund police to what degree? Like, oh, when I hear abolish police, I hear get rid of the police or whatever, and I was like,
yeah,
if you but there are other people who would argue when you defund the police, you would technically defund as in abolish. So it's a semantics game.
And even if we want to say abolish police in its current form, and that's what I get from it. We're gonna get rid of how it's currently created. This whole proto, almost paramilitary, and we're gonna reshape it into something totally different. So we're gonna get rid of its current form, reduce the amount of money that's being funneled into it, and actually reallocate funds to the proper programs that's necessary. I don't know why that's hard, why that's complicated. It's almost the same thing what's happened with Medicare for All. How everybody was like, well, that just means we're all going to lose our health care. That's like, that's not what that means. Like, what are you talking about?
Eventually, it's going to get to the point where there are people just going to like, this place is going to get in such disarray that we're going to have like an abolish America movement.
Oh my.
Whoa.
Hey,
whoa.
I mean, the way things are going is it's get to the point to where America is almost imploding on itself because they're unwilling to really address the issues of the general public and how I don't know, it's good for quite a, it's good for some but not for many. But to say that, people will think that you're just talking about America and all, and you're just a failure in life, and it's like, that's not how this works, man. Like, imagine if we use that for any other situation that we've ever tried to cross. Civil rights era, abolishing slavery, hell, imagine if this happened during the Great Depression. Oh no, it's not bad. Granted, there's a few people in their soup kitchens, and a few people can't work, and others died, but hey, America's great.
Yeah, man. Look, dude, like, don't take away my slaves. I didn't treat the slaves bad, man. Why do you gotta do that to me?
And the funny thing is, I think for what you hear, they had arguments like that. If you go through some of the journals and things like that, it was like, hey, man, again, I was a good slave owner. I wasn't like that guy.
Oh man, why you gotta create these laws against this domestic dispute? I was a good domestic disputer.
Like, oh man, what's this women's abolition? I only beat my wife once a week, or I at least let her go into town. It's man, look.
Yeah, man, look. Instead of one meal, I let her have 2 meals a day.
Exactly. Yeah, man. It's strange, and that's the funny part is that when you start hearing these, because a lot of these arguments, counter arguments, don't really have a lot to stand on. It's interesting to hear them, but they don't. For instance, how UBI is allegedly going to start causing people to not do much or be lazy, and it's like, is it really? Would it? Where's the proof of that? We don't have that. Or how, the problem with crime is to throw more cops at this situation. It's like, we already got one of the biggest police forces in the United States. How many cops are on the street, really?
It's gonna be okay. You're safe now.
I mean, in the world, I mean, I think we're probably the most heaviest police country in the world.
I need some rest. I haven't slept in 3 days.
I don't know,
You're
like,
over here. Miss O'Shea will show you
like
the
when
way.
people tell me that,
Mr.
like,
Morgan, we put you in a
well,
room.
we're just gonna make people lazy.
Grimshaw.
Mr. Bell, you're with the fellas over
I'm just trying to like think about that for a second because like, should we really just craft a society around like people that like mandates them to like work at a job that they probably think is a piece of shit job to actually work at to begin with, and also to like tie a person's like livelihood to a job, and it's like, well, don't be lazy or whatever. We want you to work at this place that you don't want to work at, by the way. We want you to spend all your time over here and like doing this thing.
Yeah, and even if you
or
don't,
else you're gonna die.
Yeah, even if you don't like it, at least they can say, "Hey, man, we know you don't like this, but at least we're gonna compensate you to where you can take care of yourself and your family, and maybe even have a little extra."
Hello, Arthur.
But no, that makes too much sense.
Arthur.
Maybe we should get to the point where
Just fine, Abigail.
that we should actually just, at a bare minimum, require people
I need you
to be just
I'm sorry to ask.
constructive part of a society, just period. Because if you're just gonna base a person's life around how much work they're contributing to a particular job, like that's kind of a shallow existence, because most people nowadays, we don't pick jobs based off of like, oh, that's our life career. It's like, hell, a lot of people's life career doesn't even like pay them enough. And even if you did actually manage to get a degree for it, depending if it does require a degree, that assumes that you're going to actually be able to find the job within that particular field. And please miss me with that nonsense about like, well, you can go and create your own business. Like,
oh my god, yeah, you're right.
On.
Yeah, because I just have the money to go do so, and like that's so irritating.
Or the skill set.
Yeah, or the skills. That's the thing. It's like you realize what it takes to start your own business and what you're. I'm not even gonna get in that rant because I always thought that was silly.
That's like an entirely different thing to actually be prepared for, because for some people that think, well, just get into business, like, so it's for some people who may think it's a little reductionist to actually become a teacher, but if you've actually tried to teach a particular subject, you have to first understand the topic so well to be able to adapt it to different people's learning styles. Because I mean, for me personally, like a lot of times the best way for me to learn stuff is sometimes to actually do it, whereas other people, you may have to actually verbally, they can probably take it in verbally maybe once or twice or whatever, but then you also have people with medical conditions who require a special way to actually do it. And some people have all kinds of mitigating circumstances outside in their personal lives. You know, like the pandemic is a perfect example of like people can't go to school and learn, so they have to learn at home. But you have all these various distractions and all these other things going on. Lack of accessibility to like technology, internet, school funding. You have food issues. Then you have conflicting schedules, because a lot of parents used to actually rely upon schools for babysitting.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate too. It's just also weird because like why don't we have universal pre-K or anything like that?
We had the money, it seemed fine.
That makes me wonder, because Warren and Bernie actually did have a universal daycare proposal. I actually don't think Biden does.
I doubt it. I mean, because you're also taking away from another revenue stream or another major entity, and so it's. But when you look at these things, that's essential to how we want life to be conducted. You want people to work, correct? All right, but we're going to make it hard for you to go to work. But then we're going to chastise you because you're not able to go to work or go to school or be functional. So it's like, yeah, if you have children, you have to put these children up somewhere. You have to, and so people will say, well, you should just work and pay for it. It's like, well, daycare is expensive. Like, It
Very
is.
expensive. Bro, like, I think it was you and one other person who was like telling me some prices of daycare. And I was like, that's kind of like the salary of like a lot of people, what their take home is per month
Yeah.
for daycare.
Like, the cheapest daycare I ever paid was for my middle child. And how much did I pay? I think I paid about close to $800 a month for her to go to daycare. And that was back home in Beaumont. And so when we started looking out here, though, like even pre-K, which she only went half the day, I still paid like $500. And that was at a public school. And I'm like, why? You know, because again, they have to go to school. Otherwise, if someone sits at home, they don't get paid, because we don't have a system that, you know, makes it where if you're a stay-at-home parent or that's actually contributing in any way or form, which is weird. Same with the education. It's like, you know, this is actually a funny story. People who would sit there and say that, oh, education should always be, you know, come with a price and this and that. People don't realize that the government set aside a lot of money for education when we were in the middle of a space race, because we wanted to fund people who can then come and contribute and help us get to the moon.
John was riding that horse when we left Blackwater.
That's just like a weird thing to like even suggest like there should be a cost. Like yeah, there's a cost literally to everything, but like if you attribute a cost to it, then there's a barrier to entry, and if you don't meet that barrier to entry, you can't pull a Ben Shapiro and say, oh, individualism, oh, you should like pick yourself up by your, well, he didn't say bootstraps. I don't think he's like that, like
he's close
or whatever, but he's very individualistic in his approach. Like, well, you need to like think about your own actions. That is actually something that he said. So if I'm born into a set of circumstances, just because I just so happen to be born into a family that maybe my mother has like 5 or 6 jobs at the same time, yes, that's actually a thing, then is that my fault? Like, what? So I was born into these set of circumstances, so what am I to do? Exactly. That means I have to work even harder to catch up to everybody else. And that's even if that's even obtainable really at that point, because that's not an equal amount of access to be able to get the same level of education as other people. Hell, I don't even have I don't. So what does it actually refer to as?
What's that?
Equality
opportunity.
I think it's what is it? Equality of opportunity versus equality of access or something.
Yeah.
Or outcome or some shit like that. I don't remember.
Something like that. Yeah.
Because you can look at it from one perspective of like, well, if you work harder, you can get to the same point. Can you really? Because if we take Jeff Bezos, for example, there's virtually no way that I can really just like get to Jeff Bezos levels unless I exploit the fuck out of my workers.
Exactly.
And what business idea am I going to come up with that like billions of people have not come up with already yet? And I'm just going to be the lucky one. Like, just think about like how crazy of an idea that is.
It is.
How big this world is. All these people in this world, and I all of a sudden, among like a little over 600 billionaires, I'm able to penetrate that bubble somehow. That is very unlikely.
Yeah, but here's also the issue I have when people always want to say individualism. It doesn't take account that regardless of how much of an individual you want to be, your life revolves around the people around you and the communities you're a part of. So you can say, yeah, I'm gonna be this individual person, but even if the problems don't deal with you specifically, and just take this situation now, like with Corona and all these things and the protests, eventually it does hit your front door. You don't have a choice but to deal with the matter, because it's not just those individuals' problem. When a problem like that plagues your communities and your country, it plagues everyone. This is why they'll say in a justice anywhere is it a justice everywhere. I think I probably just butchered that quote, but
yeah.
But that's what that really means. So it's like, and it also goes like even with what you were saying with the whole, oh yeah, if you just work really really hard, you know that even if you made like, you can just run the numbers. If you made like $2,000 like an hour and worked full time all year, let's just assume you don't have any taxes or anything like that, it still would take you almost 200 years to make $1 billion on your own. Because you don't just make $1 billion, and that's the funny part that people don't understand. Like, they think that you just all of a sudden you're just that good, and that you're just worth that much to where you can make $1 billion on your own. Like, that's not how that works.
Nope, not at all. It's like, bro, like, you know how many businesses like just like are no longer around because of this pandemic right now, and how many of them just don't make it to that same economic status. Hell, to even like break $1 million is in and of itself hard. I mean, that's the whole thing about like how FedEx is just like markets itself like out there. Opportunity for entrepreneurship and all that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Come and make all this kind of fucking money. Freedom to make your own choices and all that. Like, okay, guys, like come on. Like, you're basically just making a pitch to like try to trick people into cheaper labor is essentially what you're doing.
And that's been the model for a lot of companies. Is in that case, and you see it a lot with Uber and Lyft. Oh, we're going to promote this contract concepts. The individual contractor, or oh yeah, we're going to allow individual people to, you know, kind of come in and be small business owners and just work under our umbrella, you know, all that stuff. And it's like, nah,
set your own work schedule.
Oh,
and nah. Make up to $20 an hour or some shit like that.
And it's so funny because it doesn't even work like that. It's they did that not because they really promote all business owners. The problem is they don't want to have to pay for people to work. That's pretty much it. It's reason why all these companies contract like the janitorial services or cleaning services or security and all these other things.
Yeah, because all of it's just fucking cheaper, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it in one regard, but then it comes full circle and it just makes you wonder, okay, so should you really like structure a society around companies that are behaving this way?
No.
And say that you should just basically, you should work harder, or why you're being so lazy or whatever. They already don't fucking want to pay your bitch ass anyway, and then as soon as they start trying to like pay you more, then they'll just like spit it off and contract it, or they're just gonna try to like automate it. So really, this idea of like just trying to like kiss the boots of these companies, they don't care about you. And really, okay, maybe we should just say, okay guys, it's good that you want to get out there and work, but you don't necessarily need to in order to like get a minimum standard of living. Now, if you want to climb the economic ladder, of course.
Yeah, if your goal is to be rich-ish, then sure. But you shouldn't have to basically bend over backwards for these things to occur. It is an interesting concept. Because I've also started being more weary about this too, because you know, people like Elon Musk and other prominent capitalists are now saying they're pro UBI, and it's not the pessimist in me is wondering why. Like, why are they interested in this concept? Really? Is that bad?
UBI. I mean, some people speculate that, and this is something that I actually would drastically disagree with Andrew Yang on, is that it's to basically give people money so then they can then recirculate that money back into these companies. Because when it comes to UBI, there are several proposals as far as where the money actually comes from, and some of those proposals that have been brought up usually manifest in a value-added tax or a tax on goods, which means that actually the companies are not actually paying for the higher wages. Actually, the people who are purchasing the products are actually getting taxed, and then their money is being circulated back to them effectively. So even though technically it can actually affect relatively well-off rich billionaires or whatever, the people who encompass most of the spending in the country are mostly all working people. So it's like, well, you know, we're gonna make you guys give yourself a raise, and then you're going to use that money to purchase our products, which then in turn makes us richer, and eventually you're just going to make yourself poor.
Why? Okay, this is probably just crazy concepts. Why don't we make these businesses pay their fair share? Why don't we make Amazon pay taxes, property taxes?
Because that's gonna make them actually have to come out of pockets, and they don't want to do that.
So sad. We have to, as a world, have to start creating these standards and say, this is what we plan on doing as a collective worldwide. Either you, as corporation X, Y, Z, will pay what is necessary in order to be able to do business with our general public. This is what the minimum standards. You know, you can't just put yourself on the block and make people bid on you on who's going to give you the most kickbacks. It's not what we're going to do. And that's just the problem that we're having, is because now they can basically hold quote-unquote jobs as hostage on why you should want me to come to your city. I mean, there's that. How about, you know what? There's a minimum standard that you're required. If you have a job that requires you to hire someone, there's a minimum standard on what is allowed for you to pay them or not. You pay X amount, and it's all going to be reevaluated yearly, just to make sure that we don't need to increase based on cost of living or anything like that. You know what? When it comes to housing costs, we're finna get all these private corporations out of the housing market, because you know what? We realize people need houses. We need shelter. That's just how it goes. But if you didn't price people out of the housing market, this is what creates homelessness or helps perpetuate it. That, along with poor paying jobs. Or lack of jobs. So we need to restructure all of this. One thing you realize is the free market doesn't care about anybody. And what the free market, people will say that, oh, the system's broken. No, it's working. It's working properly. Hey, you can't afford a house? Sorry, the free market dictated it needs to cost this much. We're sorry. Oh, you can't get health care? Oops, we're sorry. The free market but the free market, that's exactly what we're going to just start saying.
Yeah, I mean, you can just move. I mean, you gotta go get another job. That's the free market, bro.
Yeah,
get up and move. Go find. I don't know. You ain't got money? Go fucking get a job that actually does give you money.
Yeah.
Oh well, you can't do that. Shit, I guess.
Oh, well, go back to school. Oh, you can't go back to school because you got kids? Well, you should have had them damn kids. You should have thought about that.
That's right. It's like you just can't talk to these people at all, man.
Oh man, that's like whole penny. What is it? Hey, yeah, the coastal line is rising. Yeah, if your house floods, just sell the house. Who's gonna buy it?
The fucking Aquaman.
It was so bad because that's the first thing I thought. I was like, if the coastal lines rise and the homes is now flood territory, who in their right mind is going to buy it from you?
Dude, I even asked that question like 2 weeks ago when I said I was getting ready to like move, and I asked the new landlord. I was like, "Oh, by the way, did this area flood?" She was like, "I don't believe so," and I said, "Yeah." I asked this question. So just imagine for like if it's a property that I'm about to purchase, and like I asked that question, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't think so, and I'm like, that's wrong answer. You better give me a yes or a no. I'm not fucking playing with you.
Man, it's just, oh man, it's been interesting. That's all I can say. Maybe we need to just do away with this.
I'm not buying a. Yeah, I'm not buying a house in this area. Like that's I had decided that like a while ago because after seeing what these floods would do, one of my friends was talking about like buying a house in like Lumberton, and I was thinking to myself like you saw what happened to Lumberton, right? That whole area was underwater, and you're gonna buy a house over there? Like, okay, it's you. Do what you want. No amount of like it being a nice area or like insurance or whatever with like. Yeah. I'm not just dealing with the hassle. Not at all.
And even then, it's so funny because then insurance companies can reduce what they're willing to cover. This is why you get situations on why FEMA had to be created, because insurance companies, due to watching out for their investor interest only, can basically screw you over. Even though you're a paying customer, but they're not meant here to help. They're meant to just pay as little much as possible. Because of the investors, we got to think about the investors.
Yeah, we have to think about the investors. I mean, this is something that I've been meaning to like look into, but I think like the concept of the market was actually just. So when I say market, I'm talking about like stock exchange. I think that was just something that was created in the 80s, I believe.
Yeah, it's fairly new, yes.
So I was thinking to myself, like, a lot of times when my boss would always like tell me, well, you have to think about the investors. I say, well, we didn't have to worry about that shit in your fucking day, fucking old ass man. Now all of a sudden you telling me that I have to worry about this shit? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I mean, you gotta think about the investment when we're talking about like raising your wages. You didn't have to fucking worry about this shit.
Yeah.
Fuck out of my face.
It's like even employee-based insurance is actually fairly new. I think that was post-World War II when that happened. Because at first, it just wasn't a thing. It was like, no, that seems silly to tie your health insurance to your employment. It's like, why? Because anything can happen. You could lose your job or all these other different things. Or hell, your job could just say, we don't need your services anymore. Now,
I wonder if it's illegal to actually for somebody to like say, hey, look, you better get in line or else I'm going to take away your health care away from you. Like,
well,
Jesus.
Remember what happened with the strikes here with, was it Ford, I think it was, and how they did something similar. Like the people who were striking, they would take your, from what I was hearing, they would remove their health insurance if you're a striking employee. And the bad thing is, with that being done, people who were actually using their health insurance because they needed to, because they may have had 6 children or any ailments themselves, it kind of strong arms them to, hey, get in line or die.
I think so.
Was that Ford? I know which one. I do remember what story
it was
you were
either that
talking
or
about.
it was that or GM, but it was one of the. It was one of the matter of fact, I want to say it was GM in Arlington that happened.
GM union, worker strike. It was in fact GM. Yes.
Yeah. And so yeah, I remember they were covering stories like that. And I was like, yo, that's tough, because then how do you get better conditions for yourself if
they leaving? Seem to be.
If they can just say, hey, well, in that case, we're going to make your life a living hell, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because good luck bringing them to court for it. But
yeah, that shit. They're going to basically stack the cards in such a way to where they're going to make sure that you lose that court case.
Oh, definitely. Best case scenario, you settle. That don't mean much, but yeah.
You two get up
oh man, it's been interesting on how all this stuff has been playing out, and hopefully we can actually make real progress during this time and really address a lot of these concerns and issues that we have as a nation. But do I trust it? I don't know.
I will say though, like for a number of people that
Good. Come on, let's go.
for some people they just like completely checked out the process electorally, so they don't believe in like the concept of voting. I think that we should abolish the system, or activism, a number of different ways to actually go about doing it. And for me, like I support all of these measures. I actually think that there's a multilateral approach to trying to get people like Joe Biden out of office eventually. At this point now, we're pretty much just fucking stuck.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
it is kind of. But I don't know. I guess what policies would you really go for, and like, because I guess that's just kind of the purpose is trying to figure out like what can we do moving forward. We know the issues, we know what needs to change, but I know for one, I would say, you know, restructuring media. I think I've talked to you about that before, and how I think places like, you know, CNN, Fox News, etc. shouldn't even be allowed to broadcast news personally, at least not in a serious manner. But I know there's going to be some who will say, well, that's just wrong, and it's like, no, MSNBC, all of them, they are now considered political satire. And because after a while, that, or I'll even make, in that case, if you want to keep being a news broadcasting company, it should be illegal for you to intentionally mislead the people, or to if you do broadcast any news that was not true, you are required to do a retraction within 24 hours. That's either written and or verbal.
And for people who may not necessarily know what he's talking about, so you have to keep in mind that certain news organizations, or basically virtually all of them, I'm saying certain, but virtually all of them, they're mostly private companies, and they have a vested interest in making sure that you keep on watching their news channels. And sometimes some of the news coverage is a little sensationalized. Some of it is a little skewed in certain ways. Think about the amount of times that we heard Russia.
Oh,
Russia.
Venezuela. You know, anytime things like socialism come, oh, look at Venezuela, or oh, look at Russian collusion, or oh, look what Donald Trump did this time. It's like, who cares what's going on in the world? What about these protests? How come we haven't heard about these in a minute?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so they have a vested interest in making sure that they give you stories that they think would that would appeal you, that would bring you over, that would make you keep looking right back at it. Such as, for example, the Kanye West talking about he wants to run for president or whatever. Who the fuck gives a fuck about all of that bullshit? But they constantly brought it up, and then, you know, you still have some people up there talking about, oh man, think about like his mental state or whatever, and how sad it is, and oh yeah, by the way, I got an album coming out.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. Like, this dude over here crying on the fucking stage and shit.
Man,
like, dude.
It's like, it was a lot, man. But that was my issue, was that why is this news? Like, cover this in some other, like, short segment. Oh, rapper Kanye West runs for president. Other news, you know? And I don't know, man. It was weird. And I guess that's, even then, like, when you get into things like defund the police, or Medicare for all, or single payer, or whatever, it is the news source's job to know what these things mean. News plays an integral part in helping the masses understand what's going on around them. But I don't believe that's done on a consistent basis. and so it creates issues when it comes to it. But then you can't really say much about it because like they didn't do anything illegal technically. They're just bad at their job. But maybe there should be some things where we put to freedom of the press that it is also the press's responsibility to not intentionally mislead their constituents or the American public. And it's their job to report unbiased news. Now, of course, if you want to say this is an opinion, sure, state that this is your opinion about it, but don't make your opinion the facts of the matter.
I think, Adam, they should really like that. I do firmly agree with. They need to make their opinion firmly stated or whatever. Like, even if it's like, for example, let's say they start the entire news segment, and it's the entire thing is opinion. They need to be able to clearly state this is your opinion, whether it's verbally, whether or not they put up a graphic or something like that. Hey, this is an opinion. Okay, fine. And I mean, really, like, the point is to like be objective about the news. Just call the news for what it is. I mean, there is no dispute about it. I mean, Trump basically bungled his own presidential campaign by just constantly undermining the coronavirus pandemic. The reason why in like many polls he's like 15 points down, it's his own doing. A lot of this shit that's going on, that the protester brought to light, this has been going on for a very, very long time, and it was incredibly easy, really, for him to just like, he could have just throw a bone. But instead he decided to just put some gas on it and just like kept the shit going, and eventually he got to the point where he was trapped, and now you have like him having these news conferences where now he's starting to sound a little presidential, but like, really, do you really believe him? Now you're at the point where like, okay, do you really believe him? Because you was like spending like 4 or 5 months doing the exact opposite of all of this, and now you want to like, now you're 15 points down. Oh my god, now you want to act presidential? Yeah, I don't. I'm not buying it, bro. Sorry, nah.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those moments too little too late. You play this thing up like a hoax, but now you want to say, oh well, maybe I was wrong. But even then, I don't believe he's ever said that. I will almost say that's fine, but. Look, I get it if you were skeptical of it. Fine, that's fair. But once you find out otherwise, that's when it becomes, as a smart, reasonable, well, I ain't gonna say a smart, as a reasonable person, you will say, huh, I was wrong. I apologize, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great and all, but I'm still breaking up with you. Yeah. I'm still divorcing your bitch ass.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry.
I don't know. It's the equivalent of, oh, well, I wouldn't have reacted that way if, and it's like, nope, see, you already you finna mess this whole apology up.
Yeah.
But, oh, well, man, I don't know, we'll see, you know, DJ 2020, why not?
Man, it's gonna be really, like back to this Biden bullshit. I don't know what he's gonna do. I really don't know. I think like really. So for Trump, a lot of his activism just did not work at all. Now I do think Joe Biden is going to be a little bit more receptive to this. Now he's already dismissed Medicare for all, so you might as well just fucking
and that's still disappointing because if there were a time we needed the most, it's now. But hey, apparently according to him, it wouldn't help.
Yeah, so he says. But it is hypothetically possible to like move him to like maybe a German. I'm sorry. I think it's the Australian system,
Okay.
or the German system. Whichever one. It's possible. Maybe, I don't know. We'd have to see.
I mean, that's fine, and I guess, like I said, that's the only benefit
Found this
of
on one of them.
Thank you.
Joe is he
Oh, yeah.
may
Interesting.
be able to be
This is something about
swayed,
the train
and I'm
they was
using
gonna
that real
rob.
loosely. It's just
So
like, you know
Mr.
what? I want to
Leviticus
see,
Baby
Balls.
steps.
yeah, like I want to
Let's
see a
keep
change in our
moving.
healthcare system where it's single payer, like just all because we all
Let's get
need it.
outta here.
Like you can't give me a scenario where no one needs healthcare.
Not a man.
They're just gonna push you to a public option. Now I could already see this happening.
I
It's like,
know.
oh yeah,
Oh, we're
public
just going to
option.
expand Medicaid, and Medicare again. It's like, and we're you know, that penalty that you get at the end of the year for not having it because the services are still too expensive. Then, oops.
Mhm.
And so, I even, you know what? Oh my God, never mind. I'm not even gonna put that out there because I think that'll even fall apart after a while. Because I was like, you know, like go with the chips and Medicaid approach where everybody pay $5 or something like that. You know, but hey, that's what I'm saying. That'll fall apart because then it'll be like, oh, that person didn't pay their $5. They can't have can't have healthcare this month.
No, to be fair, $5 is like a trivial ass amount of money, but still.
Hey man, you never know.
Like,
Life.
nah,
Hey,
you just might as well just give it to them all.
I know, but I think because there's that. I would like to see a UBI system, but I think when UBI is created, they should specifically state this is not to replace any social safety net. Period. Is not to replace food stamps or TANF or any other service that is, you know, created. So, and the only reason I say that because I know some people will try to say, oh, well, since you got UBI, you don't need food stamps no more. It's like, no, that's not true.
Oh, they'll be very quick to like take that shit off your hands.
Exactly.
Ooh, got this. Oh, let me take that.
And it shouldn't count as income. Like actual income, where like, because you know how some people say, oh, that was earned income. It's like, no, it wasn't. Like that's. Oh, what the hell happened? Just was, whatever. Yeah, but I don't know, man. Yeah, we'll see how this all ends. But I guess we'll go ahead and end this here for the moment. I know I'm like in the middle of a mission. Most people probably don't even really know what's going on anyway. I'm chasing some guy.
Yeah.
But oh, there you go, Eric. Any new podcast episodes or anything coming up? Hell, you still ain't even upload the one we did last time.
Did I not? Oh shit, I did.
See?
No shit. Let me get my laptop for that one. Yes.
Okay. I guess I'm not supposed to kill him. All right. That's what I get for not paying attention.
Whatever.
But yeah, man, this is the time to do it though. Like, you'd be surprised at just how much. I think it would be integral to do like a full episode, or even coming back in here and doing it on what does it mean to, you know, defund police and things like that, because I think that's going to be an essential topic to discuss. Then there's kind of discussing the protests and why these things are not just, yes, it is because of situations that occur with how we as black people have to interact with law enforcement in the United States, but it also brings up other issues overall that has plagued us for so long as well, like the economic inequality and the poor housing conditions and things like that. And so, you know, kind of just going over that type of stuff.
I surrender. Please don't kill me, please. I won't be no trouble.
But
There
I don't
we
know.
go.
Yeah, it's up
There
to
we
you.
go. All right.
What's that?
Got it done. I was booting up my laptop so I could log into this day.
Oh.
Shit.
Oh well, but yeah, we'll go ahead and end the stream here though, man. Yo, Eric, I appreciate you coming by, man. It's been fun.
Ah, whatever.
I do, sir. You know it's always fun talking about this type of stuff on the stream, and of course with the background of gaming. What brings people together more than gaming?
Yeah, the most polarizing experience ever.
Exactly.
Oh my God, politics in games. Fuck.
Exactly. See, it could have been worse. I could have did like a heavy political game like Deus Ex, or I could have been talking about police brutality while playing Resident Evil as a cop, shooting zombies and stuff. Because, I mean, yeah, why not?
You should put like Trump 2020 in like the headline.
Oh, Lord. Oh, my God. Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
this nigga done went full grip.
Let's do it. But we'll go ahead and we'll cut this one from here. Don't want to kill the bandwidth of everything of this system. PlayStation to say, "Hey, Idjit, you said 60 minutes, and here you are." But anyways, I'm Q. That was my man E, and we'll be back another time. But hey, other than that, appreciate y'all. Those who do find this, I'm gonna make sure I do all my hashtags and stuff. But other than that, we good. We out.